Very good afternoon, viewers. Here, Accounting Equation Academy presenting one problem from the chapter Income from Salary. How income from salary is computed, given one question on your screen. So, section 15 to section 17 have provided the various provisions for computation of income from salary under the head income from salary topic. So section 15 says that salary is taxable on due basis, and salary is also taxable if it is received in advance, and the salary is taxable if it is a arrear of salary which is not taxed in the past year if it is received during the current previous year. And section 16 has given certain deduction to employee salary person, and section 17 has given various benefits which is called perquisites, amenities, monetary, in cash or in kind, provided by employer to his employee, are chargeable to tax. So these perquisites points I will discuss with you later on. Today problem focusing on especially allowances. What are the allowances are fully taxable? What are the allowances are fully exempted? Allowances are partially taxable, partially exempted. So I will try to highlight on these allowances with the help of one problem. So one problem is taken on your screen. You see here the Mr. X employed as a production manager in M Limited provided you the following information for the year ended 31st March 2023. So for the year ended 31st March 2023 means it is starting from 22 April 1 ending on 31st 3 23. This is now basic salary given rupees 50,000 per month. It is always taxable. Lunch allowance, servant allowance, transport allowance, education allowance, and hostel allowance, conveyance allowance, overtime allowance, medical allowance, entertainment allowance, city compensatory allowance, house rent allowance, then next your dearness allowance, then commission received based on fixed turnover achieved by him, Mr. X. So with this information we have to calculate income from salary for the assessment year 2023-24. So income of previous year 2022-23, it is assessed, it is computed in the assessment year 2023-24. So these problems will be solved as per the income tax provision. Now these allowances are given in addition to salary to the employee for discharging various official duties. So in these allowances are personal allowances, official allowances are included. To meet the personal expenditure of employee, allowances are given. To discharge the official duties, office work, and also allowances are given. So this is the problem of salary, and now you see how it is solved. Very simple, based on allowances. Now you right here the heading is title computation of net income from salary of Mr. X, a resident individual, here spelling individual, for the assessment year 2023-24 relating to previous year 2022-23. Then the simple format, particulars and to amount column. So particulars giving the details of income information, and this in this first amount column for adjustment purpose like inner column, and the second amount column is your taxable column. The amount which you are writing in this column, it will be taxable. So very carefully we have to write the amount under this column based on income tax provision as well rules of income tax. Okay, now basic salary, it is always taxable, so it is a given per month, so here you add per month, and 50,000 into 12, it is a 6 lakh rupees. Lunch allowance, it is always taxable, it is receiving by employee 1,000 per month, for 12 months it is 12,000. And next is your servant allowance. This is given in the question, 2,000 per month for 12 months, 24,000. It is always taxable. Transport allowance, it is given in the question, 3,000 per month into 12, 36,000. This is the taxable column. So this is taxable column. We have to write only the amount on which tax is payable or taxable amount. Now next you see the education allowance. It is given in the question that 200 per month for 3 children. So each children 200 rupees, and employee is having 3 children, so he is getting 3 children's education allowance, and it is a per month, so multiplied by 12, so it is coming 7,200. So as per the income tax provision, so employee who is getting education allowance can claim a deduction or exemption rupees 100 per month per child for maximum 2 children only. Though he is getting for 3 children, but as per the provisions you can claim deduction for 2 children only, and this is the per month 100 rupees per month, and into 200 rupees for 2 children per month, and 12, it is 2400. So this is the fixed amount, so you will get deduction, that is exemption, and balance amount 7,200 minus 2,400, it is 4,800 is taxable. Similarly, hostel allowance, it is given in the questions 500 rupees, but though employee is having 3 children, but for the hostel allowance he is getting for only 1 children, so that is why it is multiplied by 1, and it is a per month 500 rupees per month, and into 12, so 6000 rupees. And less exempted, so it is also rule that 300 hostel expenditure allowance, 300 rupees is exempted per child, and it is also maximum 2 children, but he is getting for 1 children only, so he will get deduction 1 children only. So 300 into 1 into 12, so 3600, so balance amount is taxable. So this is an exempted amount, this is a taxable amount. 3600 per child is exempted, and he can claim maximum 2 children, so 3600 into 2, so then it will become 7200. So that means an employee can claim exemption maximum 2 children 7200 rupees. But in this question only 1 children is there, so only 1 children deduction. He is receiving for only 1 children, so only 1 children deduction he will get. And it is a convenience allowance which is given to employee for performing the official work, official duties, and he can claim deduction to the extent of expenditures incurred. If you see in the questions, it is given that 200 rupees he has spent. He is receiving monthly from the employer 3000 rupees, but he is spending rupees 2000 per month. So amount spent is eligible for deduction in case of convenience allowance. And 36,000 minus 24,000, 12,000 is taxable amount. Overtime allowance is always fully taxable, no deduction. Convenience allowance having deduction if the expenditure incurred by employees given in the question, otherwise it will be fully taxable. Overtime is always fully taxable if you get in the question overtime allowance, whatever the amount you are getting, so you multiplied with number of months and write down. This is the 12,000 fully taxable amount. Medical allowance, it is also fully taxable amount, whatever you are getting in the question, 4,000 into 12, so 48,000. If you get in the question that medical allowance he is getting 4,000 and medical expenditures incurred rupees 3,000, then that 3,000 deduction is not available. Okay, so this medical allowances. Similarly, entertainment allowances, it is fully taxable in case of private employee, and government employee they get deduction under section 16 subsection 2. So this is the 2000 he is getting, so it is fully taxable, 24,000. And city compensatory allowance, it is always fully taxable. House rent allowance having the rule to work out, so here you will get the working note on house rent allowance after this. So here this 93,000, how did you get, how it is calculated 93,000, so working note has been shown below. After the solution, this I will show you here. House rent allowance, so house rent allowance having provisions for calculating and exemption rules are there. So similarly, dearness allowance, it is always fully taxable. If you are getting in the question dearness allowance, so whole amount you write down in taxable column. So he is getting dearness allowance rupees 5,000 per month, so into 12, 60,000. This 60,000 is dearness allowance. And commission on turnover achieved, it is always taxable. So you write down commission on turnover achieved 30,000 and taxable column 30,000. So now you aggregate, so but we have to put the value of 93,000 of house rent allowance, how it is arrived this 93,000. So now you see here working note for house rent allowance. House rent allowance rule is here. So house rent allowance received is exempt from tax to the extent of list of the following three alternatives. So three alternatives under section 10 subsection 13a. Following three alternatives under section 10 subsection 13a and rule 2a. This one. So always you write down A1 actual house rent allowance received. So it is given in the question house rent allowance received is 8,000 per month. So 8,000 into 12, 96,000. And this is the point fixed, excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. So as employee getting house rent allowance money received from the company or employer rupees 8,000, but he is staying in a rented house where he is paying rent rupees 6,000 per month. And this is the 6,000 into 12, it is 72,000. So and this is to be calculated on the basis of rent paid by employee. This 66,000 into 12, 72,000, and excess of rent paid is 72,000. And what is the amount of 10% of salary? So 10% of salary, for the purpose of house rent allowance, salary we take, salary it is to be take, salary is this one. Salary means always dearness allowance, basic salary plus dearness allowance plus commission. So dearness allowance will be taken only if it is part of salary. So now part of salary, here it is given dearness allowance, this is mentioned here, this is part of salary. So when you get the part of salary from part of salary, or will be taken into account for pension and gratuity, then only this your dearness allowance will be taken here. This is taken dearness allowance, otherwise dearness allowance will not come. Best. So basic salary, dearness allowance plus commission based on turnover achieved. So you see here it is 6 lakh plus 60,000 plus 30,000. So 6,90,000. Now 6,90,000, 10% is given this one. This 10% shall be calculated on this 6,90,000. And it is coming 69,000. Now you see the excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. So rent paid is 72,000 and 10% of salary is 69,000. So the rent paid amount exceeding is 3,000 difference. So you write down here. So first one 96,000, second one is 3,000, and third one is, this is the 40% of salary. So salary means this amount 6,90,000, 40%. You calculate the 40% of 6,90,000. So then you will get 2,76,000. And now you compare with these three, which is the least amount. So least amount is 3,000, and this 3,000 shall be deducted from actual house rent allowance. This is the actual house rent allowance, number 1, rupees 96,000. So here you see that, therefore taxable amount of house rent allowance 96,000 is the actual house rent allowance received from the employer, and the least amount among these three is 3,000. So this minus this 93,000, and it is written here taxable amount of HRA, house rent allowance, and this 93,000 we have written here. So we derive 93,000 by using this rules for computation of house rent allowance. Okay, so now next, when we total all these figures after putting 93,000, this now the total is 9,70,200, and it is the gross income from salary. It is called 9,70,200, and the less standard deduction. So the every salaried person, every employee who is working, whether the full timer or part timer, they get a standard deduction under section 16 1A 50,000. So this is the 50,000 or salary amount received, whichever is less, that is eligible for deduction from the gross income from salary. So this 9,70,200 minus 50,000, so then 9,20,200 is your net income from salary. Okay students, so this is a simple problems I had explained you, and now all of you copy it, practice it, write down